everyone. You're listening to another episode of Echolocation, a podcast created under a joint collaboration between three media outlets. From Georgia, K-News, from Moldova, DS, and from Sweden, we have Global Bar Magazine and Global Pod. Our aim is to create an echo through society by inviting young people from all three countries to make their voices heard, but at the same time exchange information and opinions about all sorts of topics of interest for them. In this episode, we set our focus on the vibrant landscape of entrepreneurship in Europe and how it's empowering the youth. Europe has long been a hotbed of creativity and innovation, with a rich history of pioneering thinkers and groundbreaking ideas. In recent years, the continent has witnessed a surge in young entrepreneurs who are not only challenging traditional norms, but also reshaping industries with their fresh perspectives and boundless ambition. We'll discuss the challenges faced by young entrepreneurs, such as access to capital, market competition, and balancing the demands of business with personal life. Our guests, entrepreneurs, and industry experts will share valuable insights and advice for aspiring young entrepreneurs looking to navigate these hurdles. I'm your host, Levani, and today our three distinguished guests will help us understand the field of entrepreneurship in Europe. They will share their insights, experiences, and advice on how Europe is fostering innovation and growth in the startup ecosystem. Let's dive right into it and meet our esteemed guests. First, we have Martina Mal, a young entrepreneur spirit from Sweden. At the moment, she's working as a key accountant in a family enterprise with a startup that helps unemployed people to get a job. She's also very active in the Swedish Junior Achievement community as an alumni. Welcome, Martina. And if you could share a few things about yourself.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm very glad to be in this podcast. And as you said, my main subjects are entrepreneurship and also to inspire young people and because entrepreneurship is such a great tool to facing the today and tomorrow's challenges that we're going to face. So entrepreneurship is a way for making creative solutions and have this growth mindset. So I'm very glad to be here. Thank you, Levani.
Thank you so much, Martina. Next, we have Christina Tokari from Moldova, a young entrepreneur and a high school student, founder of Recycling, an impact startup that receives, collects, and transforms waste plastic into useful products. Great to have you with us, Christina. If you could introduce yourself.
Hi, happy to be here. I'm a global citizen based in Moldova. I'm the founder of Recycline, an impact startup that with a waste to product concept. We transform plastic waste collected from the community into design products.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And last but not least, we have Gigi Kezherashvili from Georgia, a head of Tech Parks department at Georgia's Innovation and Technology Agency, a government agency working to support entrepreneurs and the startup scene in Georgia. And if you could introduce yourself, Gigi.
Hello, everyone again, and I'm really glad to be here with you today. And my name is Gigi, and as Levan mentioned, I'm representing the institution which is called, in short, like GITA in Georgia. So this is an institution supporting people like Martina, Christina, like young entrepreneurs, startups to, to make their startup successful, to scale up, to go on a global level into the global markets, and basically shape the whole Georgian innovation and technology ecosystem in the country.
Thank you, Gigi. And the first question will also come to you. Since you're an expert, I want to know, and let's start discussing in general the current state of entrepreneurship in Eastern Europe, because it's quite interesting to compare it to the European side. And if you could provide an overview of the trends and challenges facing startups in Eastern Europe today, that would be really good.
I love this word, an expert. This puts a whole lot of expectation and pressure on you, especially during the questions. Yes, the topic itself is quite interesting and exciting because there is no whole one dimension regarding this entrepreneurship ecosystem in Europe. There's a huge diversity even inside the Europe. Even if we talk only about Eastern Europe, and even if we even narrow down, like a Black Sea region or each particular like Central and European side of the region, each country has a huge variety of challenges, the problems, their successes as well, of course. But I mean, we all know where this kind of startup ecosystem is going in United States. We all know all the successes which is going on in Israel, in the countries like, for example, in Australia, in China, especially on the Western side, on especially regarding the hardware ecosystem, which is becoming a new Silicon Valley. But there is a different trend and dynamics, let's say in Eastern Europe, and we are well aware of the latest significant growths in the startup ecosystem in the past decades in the countries like Poland, Ukraine, Hungary, Romania, especially Baltic state. They have emerged as really hotspots for tech innovation and entrepreneurship. And there have been different factors contributed to this rise of startups. And these countries, and also like Moldova, Georgia, and South Caucasus, other countries, we all very well acknowledged that there is not huge opportunities for us in the large scale manufacturing and like huge scale productions of different, even if you go to like agricultural products or like a primary production exports, this does not bring a big value today, and those much really added value. And the main question today is, if we start talking about and discussing it, where is the competition today exactly? And the second question is, where exactly in this competition do you stand? And basically, we all acknowledge that you have to find your niche in today's global market. And if not, the huge productions and like electric vehicles and big trucks, then you have to find something else. And this something else for us became IT, technologies, innovations, and really the field that can bring a high value to your country and and bring it very fast. And that's why I think we will talk about like government schemes and government support programs later on, but I will not go deep down into it. But to say the least, that is what I'm usually telling the young children in the regions, especially like Levan was also often attending, that today, no matter if you live in Kiev or Budapest or Prague or Tbilisi, on one hand, and on the other hand, if you live in some remote village in one of the mountainous areas in our country, if you have access to your smartphone, to your internet, then you have access to around, I think the latest number was 5.7 billion people in the world who have access to the internet. And this is not a fairy tale. You have access in a Google Play Store, you have like on the app stores that you can create something that you can generate much higher income, higher value for your family, for your region, for your municipality, your village, and your country overall. So this entrepreneurial mindset is really emerging, and this entrepreneurial culture was a big challenge during those years. And Georgian ecosystem of startups is very, very young, but still I believe that this is coming up right in the way. This is going in the right direction. And new entrepreneurs will be telling their names on the global markets quite like more frequently than it has been happening before.
Thank you so much, and I totally agree. If we look at like from 90s in general, the development of the Eastern Europe as a emerging startup region, let's say, and the amount of startups that actually came from this region, it's really high, and it's really good to see, of course. But there is still a lot of room to grow, especially since the Europe is growing and spreading more eastwards. And this actually goes well with our next question, which is for Martina. Um, you have experienced their startup journey firsthand, and how has government support or initiatives played a role in this success of your company? And what does the Swedish government or EU in general do to support young entrepreneurs like yourself?
Perfect question. If I come back to a theory that exists, so I believe it's like a stair. Imagine there's a stair with 4 steps. First, you have a person with an idea. The next steps, you have money, because the money beats the idea. And then you have politics, because politics can beat the money with laws. And then you have technology, that in some different areas, you have technology where they don't have any politics yet. For example, in AI. And here you see the government has a huge role when making space for entrepreneurship and innovation in this stair. So, of course, the government is a part of this. For example, for young entrepreneurs, you have the junior achievement, which in Sweden is called Ung Företagsamhet, which the government has as a school subject. So in school, in your high school, you can choose to have entrepreneurship as a subject, which in long terms create a foundation where we have young people who has mastered a year of entrepreneurship. And for me, personal, our family company is in the welfare in Sweden. So yeah, we are directly connecting to the government.
Thanks so much. And that example of children learning actually the basics of entrepreneurship during their school years, it's really, really cool. And I hope that maybe we can see the same in our side of Europe, but let's see. And next question, it's for Christina, and we all know that Europe is a very diverse continent, right? And startup ecosystems vary across countries, as Gigi mentioned already. And with your experience, could you highlight some of the most important issues that young entrepreneurs are facing in Eastern Europe in general, or in Moldova from your experience?
There are quite of them. Beside the things like funding or regulations that we as small actors, we can't control the thing, but also I think that with a lot of information and insistence, you can handle the issues. But the thing as the phenomena of brain drain and skilled people or the young entrepreneurs or the professional, they leave the countries to seek the better opportunities or to go to the destinations where they can value their skills. And for me, for example, trying to build here a company is hard to find the people that will reach the goal I have. Yeah, and the workforce in the countries or in the region lacks some skills. Also, I can mention the market size we face here. Once we launch here a company or a startup, from the very beginnings, we have to think going further, and we introduce this expansion or scalability in the early stage of our startups. So maybe this can be also one of the things that maybe I should mention at on the top of this list is the education we receive, like the entrepreneurial lessons Martina talked earlier, that where you can develop this creative mind that try to see potential in everything. You have these ideas at the university, so it's very slow, the process. And from the other side, have the education that we as citizens should receive. For example, me launching a company that handle the ecological issues and environmental problems, I had to sell my products by starting to educate the school pupils. Like, I started from information campaigns. I started with social projects in order to make people understand the concept of recycling, because here for us, as it's a very foreign concept, the recycling part, or the ecology. They study about it very superficial at schools. So I think that is the key point in the education in our region. And also maybe I thought about the infrastructure we have, and starting from the access to digitalization, or to the transport, or to the aeronautics, or other domains. It can be improved. Like for me, also in my activity, getting to know the market and to understand the customer, why the people don't recycle or don't separate their waste. The answer is in infrastructure. Like, nobody cares, nobody allows us to do so. Like, I tried, but I saw one car that bring all the waste, and that's my effort is not valorized, so they gave up. So the infrastructure plays a role, and in order to make things to develop or to appear new things, you have to make a safe space for this. Like, if you want to introduce alternative transport, you should give infrastructure to motivate people to get used to it. Like, you can't cycle a bike where you can't feel safe on the roads, or nobody knows the rules, or so. Yeah.
Thank you, Christina. And my next question is for Martina, and I think listening to Christina's thoughts on her challenges, right, when she was starting her startup, I want to know how different or how much of the problems are the same in Sweden, and if you could share, Martina, some challenges you faced personally and the valuable lessons when you learned while building your startup in Europe.
Yes. So for me, I would say there's not one big problem. I would say I'm facing problems every day, and that's a part of being an entrepreneur, to always be facing. I mean, I'm facing problems all the time, and it's how to move across that, like how to keep on going, and that's a skill that you have to practice. And so if I'm thinking back, I wouldn't say that this is a big problem I've learned. I would say that what I've learned is to always keep moving forward, and to be able to have this like marathon mindset, you have to have really high goals, and you're striving for them. So all those tiny problems that you're facing, you just need a solution, and then the next one. And so I would not come up with one problem. And if I wanted to, find problems, I could do it all the time. But I don't put in energy on that. I put energy on solutions, and my mindset on the solutions instead. But one thing I actually have learned is patience. And also today in our society, we are like swimming around in quick dopamine, like high speed. So what I've learned as a lesson is to accept that the solution might not be here in 30 seconds. It might take weeks, months, year to find a solution, but just keep going. Was that the answer on your question? Might not.
For sure. And I think your question especially is really important for our listeners, because most of our listeners are young adults, right? And for them to understand that, for example, social media, which might give you some instant gratification or dopamine, like those, you like have to train yourself to look ahead. And the sprint and marathon, what you mentioned is really accurate, and I totally stand behind that. Thank you.
And also I want to add, we often in social media see the highlights. You take a photo with you and the gold medal. You don't see the journey or all the efforts that the people have put into it. And also I would say I've seen a lot of things on social media of people trying to talk about entrepreneurship that doesn't know anything about entrepreneurship, because they say something that is the truth, because it's not going to happen overnight, for example. And it's this patience that's really and hard work.
Patience and hard work. Great suggestions. Thank you so much. And Gigi, I want to hear from you what are some examples of innovative startups, right, from Georgia, because there are some people that really maybe didn't listen what Christina said right now, but still had the same kind of attitude towards life and made actually some really important steps to create successful innovative startups. And like from your experience, how those successful startups break through from the general noise, let's say, and what did they do right to achieve that?
Yes, exactly. Like Christina has been like in a quite interesting journey so far. We could all hear that this was like interesting example of this challenging growth, like startups and entrepreneurs are getting through, and also the Martina's suggestion. No, it wasn't a suggestion. Basically, it was a very interesting wording that all these startups, when you ask them where are you heading to, right? They will say that there's a very long way to go, and it is quite impossible to achieve that without a big money and so on, and big funding and big investors and huge names. But just take one step at a time, okay? Like go with it, to do the right. The main thing is to do these small and right steps, and that's what's also like in many other countries. Of course, there's a huge difference between like a Swedish ecosystem. It's much bigger economy, and the situation in the like innovation ecosystem would be like much different in many ways. But this startup mindset and psychology is more or less similar to every nation. And I'm always trying to divide startups and like pre-evaluate, let's say, how ready they are to going to the market. And I always ask this question, like, what is your main challenge at the moment? And there are one group of startups whose answer is that money is the biggest challenge, and that they cannot have access to the money they need. And there's a second group which will say, you know, there is a market problem, there's a validation, there's a product market fit challenge, and you know, there is a value proposition challenge, and who are capable to assess the situation in a much more credible way. Because we've seen many examples. You know that we run a state grants program who is providing the pre-seed investment to the very early stage startups, and it was very visible that majority of these kind of startups who were saying that all they need is money, they were getting this money, and they were failing much faster with the money than without the funding, because it was clearly visible that there was lack of validation, there was lack of product market fit, and with money it became demonstrated much clearly. But you know, also one good example is that this is the entrepreneurial mindset. You know, from Gigi started operating in 2016. That's why I said that this whole ecosystem is very young, and 7-8 years ago, even the word startup, it was a word that nobody knew in Georgian regions, and there was absolutely no clue what they have been doing. And producers of apples and peaches, they were calling themselves startups. But today it's drastically different situation, and the awareness is much higher, and the popularization, it's getting popular to be a startup, right? I mean, before it was the much more prestigious to be some kind of clerk and accountant in the local city hall, and this was a role model of your neighbor, that you know your neighbor got the job in local branch of the bank. But today it's not that cool anymore, and today to be an entrepreneur in the regions, it's much more cooler. And that's why I'm telling, for example, we have, you know, the Georgian famous wine, and one of wine regions where also Levan is from. It's I'm always telling the kid that, you know, even if you're born in the regions where everything is about wine and everyone is working in the wine industry, it does not necessarily mean that you also have to do wine. You know, it doesn't mean by any means that I'm against wine. By any means, I'm the opposite, the biggest fan of wine, especially as a consumer. But still, anyway, it doesn't mean that you have to do it. There's a big, huge horizon of opportunities, possibilities that you have to not only remote but also physically to do it, generate much higher income, generate much higher value. And about your question, we have seen some main startups who have not failed that fast and even achieved a lot of success and scaled up on the global market. We have seen a Pulsar AI who had made a big exit in United States market. We have some interesting startups in fintech. Also, biotech is getting one of the driving force of the Georgian startup ecosystem, especially lately, like a Biochem Farm, and some interesting startups are really coming up and emerging. And you know, there were some factors contributing to that, and one of them really was this access to funding. Okay, the facts and this pre-seed investment provided by JITA and the government played a huge role, because we invested money in those startups at the level that nobody would invest. Not a commercial bank, not venture capital, not even angel investors. And we risked it, and in a lot of cases, it brought its result. There were also cases like failure rate was also high, but anyway, it was definitely worth it, and all the stats and all the data are confirming that. Another thing is regulatory complexity, and we made regulatory framework much more startup friendly and also very friendly for IT companies, international IT companies to enter our markets. We almost made absence the profits corporate tax for the international IT companies who are operating, who would enter our markets. We did a lot of capacity building. We did a lot of contribution, and also the fact that 500 Global enters, the biggest accelerator in the world, one of the top accelerators, entered our markets. It also had put a big pin on the world map where Georgia is, and it's also attracted a lot of small VCs. Several small VCs also emerged on Georgian market. New angel investment network also emerged in the country, and in these corporate business people, now it's slowly coming and getting popular to become an angel investor simultaneously. So that is, I think, confirmation of that we are heading in the right direction.
Thank you so much. And there are so much interesting things that you said. And I wanted to go now to Christina. And since Georgia and Moldova are more or less same size, same type of history, same type of economical situation, you were listening to Gigi, right? And he was saying a lot of things about government support and all of that. Can you tell us how much Moldovan government does, and where do you think that they can improve, and where you feel like you need more support from them?
For the last years, we observe a lot of success in this area. Like me as an entrepreneur, I really feel that the government tried to do something, tried to keep us interested in developing good projects in Moldova. Even about the funding part, like I think that it's important to know where to ask and how to ask. Like I didn't receive the funding from the government in the first year, but and I tried several times to do so. And at the end, when I asked at the stage where I already had a product, and in my case was that with no money, I developed a thing that I could demonstrate that this works. I asked for the money in a program that that empower the initiatives like mine. I received it when I had a little bit of experience in managing things, because I started the project earlier from the university, and I was shocked how open it was. Like, just ask if you have problems with bureaucracy, or just if you need the support from the Ministry of Education, just tell us. So this was a moment when I felt that one proof in us, in entrepreneurs, a power, and we don't have to blame them or to make to understand to make them guilty for all the things that don't happen, and to see us entrepreneurs, the community of entrepreneurs, a powerful tool in developing the economy, in developing the regulations. Because, for example, in my area of recycling and waste management, there are a lot of rules that needs to be applied, or the laws that needs to be changed, but they really need our feedback as actors on the market, as entrepreneurs, how to do, what to do. So when we will develop a relationship of collaboration, and we will empower the forces to go in the same direction, I think we have some good potential, like our countries.
Thank you. And that's really good to hear that the Eastern European governments in general are trying to help startups and startups more. And I want to know from you, Martina. You mentioned that you work closely with the governments also a lot, and you mentioned, for example, the government's idea of introducing entrepreneurship in schools, right? And that's one thing, but how they actually help and what kind of programs they have in place for bigger startups or more mid-sized companies?
Perfect. So, in a lot of universities in Sweden, they have like a startup hub where if you are a startup and you have an idea, and during your studies, you can apply for those. But also we have the government has funds and organizations that working with as a startup like place where people can apply and join, but also like the the government's part of taxes, they have a lot of education. So if you are an entrepreneur in Sweden and you want to learn about, for example, taxes, they have courses. So to spread information is also a way. As Christina said, in Sweden, it is like Christina said, there's a lot of rules and laws, and in the same, it's in Sweden. So by facing that with information, that's great. But also, I would say the parties in the government, all of them are very, they know that entrepreneurship is a powerful tool to make the country move forward. So they know that there is an important thing, but also in general, like the power of example. So if there is a big unicorn or a big company in Sweden, they are very glad to be in media and talk and inspire other people to just go for it, because I believe brilliant minds. So we have a great brain as a human. So all those ideas should be like every idea that could bring a better tomorrow should be out there as a business idea and business model. So in the power of example, other people that has succeeded or try to succeed, and they can inspire other people to do it.
Thank you so much. We are closing our end of our podcast, unfortunately, and I wanted to give you a chance to express your whatever you want, and be it like a advice for entrepreneurs or your general ideas on how can we improve the ecosystem in general. Any type of comments is welcome. So please, if you can start, Gigi, and then.
So I turned out to be the one who has to give those motivational speeches again. So I mean, based on those very interesting conversation that Martina, Christina, and you provided, and we could even in such a short time we could all see very clearly that there are huge distinctions between the country, and also we faced like similar challenges at the same time, and we have to address those challenges in a more similar way, and also governments have also acknowledged the importance of those challenges, and we all getting to know that it doesn't happen by itself, and it needs a lot of support. Even like it doesn't matter which like economic ideology you follow and which is dominant in the country, it just doesn't happen by itself. And we saw those examples, and especially today we can see all the transformation. Whatever was called high tech like even 3-4 years ago, it's today it's not even called high tech anymore. it's not even called technology anymore. It became a basic thing, like 3D printer, or like also programmable machines, which was something like miracle, a few years ago. Today it's like iPhone 3. It's like Sony Ericsson from the 90s. So you have to catch up very fast. You have to run even ahead very fast. Otherwise, it's impossible to catch up with anything. So especially the biggest trend today, what is it? Yeah, it's the rise of deep tech, especially in Eastern Europe. And everyone sees that you cannot compete in like number of IT specialists with a country like even America, country like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Chinese, because they have even each of those countries, they have higher number of IT specialists than our whole population, maybe all put together. So that is why European countries, according to the new trend, they are trying to find a very narrowed down niche. It will be like medtech, health tech, biotech, fintech, or whatever, but you have to narrow it down. And that's why they're working, some of them is nanotechnologies, some of them are working like supercomputing, and there are many other fields that you can find your specific advantages. The another thing is, everyone acknowledge the importance of remote work and digital nomadism, and also this evolution of e-commerce, and also rise of AI, let's call it, because it will shape and all over the many technology industries, especially creative industries, and you have to catch up with it. A few years ago, like 90% of the startups who were applying for our programs, they were focused on e-commerce. They were called like just buy and sell something, and to be a mediator between the consumers and the sellers, merchants, let's say. But today, when you see the list, it's like AI, like even half of them is AI. So with this augmented reality, AR, VR, and new technologies, it will shape the whole e-commerce structure and industries as well. So my last words toward this will be that to address the new the people who are interested in to become an entrepreneur, the knowledge that you had gained like a few years ago, it's not even relevant anymore. It will be only relevant if you build it every day. It will be relevant only as a cornerstone, as like a main grounds to build upon. Otherwise, it's impossible, as I said, to catch up with the latest trends. You have to find something that you will go ahead, and others will have to catch up with you later on. So don't be scared with your crazy ideas, because that's what we need. And those crazy ideas are really eventually the main driving force, what is shaping today's world at the latest stage. So go for those crazy ideas with everything you have.
Thank you, Gigi, for great words. Now, Christina, if you could share us your final words.
For me, entrepreneurship is also about adventures, is about high risk, high win. So I encourage everyone to invest in themselves, to be curious, to be in continuous process of learning. And when you will set your standards as citizen, when you will set your standards as entrepreneur, you will see how interesting the things turned out, and the work the better way. And also it's very important to be open to try new things, to adapt to the new technology, because we see how the new technology come and they try to involve in our life, and for us it's very hard to adapt to them. So be open, be disciplined, be informed, and be in the track with time.
Thank you. Thank you, Christina and Martina.
Yeah, so I have a few things. So first of all, we live today in a world with information, like information overload. You can Google almost anything, or you can go into LinkedIn and find a person who works with something. We're so close to information today, comparing 50, hundreds years ago. So my advice, if you want to be an entrepreneur, is to find your passion and learn a lot about it, and then try to seek into the market within your passion. Maybe you're enjoying to play guitar, or you like coding, or you're studying medicine or something. Find your passion and scan the market and see if there is any thing in the market that you could do better. Because if you do something you enjoy to do, you will put down a lot of hours in it, and you will become great at it, and then someone will pay for it, and then your business is started. So find your passion, and then find information and go for it.
Thank you so much, and thank you all to our incredible guests, Martina, Christina, Gigi, for sharing your valuable expertise and experiences with us today. It's been an inspiring and insightful discussion, I hope, about the vibrant world of entrepreneurship in Europe. To our listeners, thank you for joining us in this journey. Remember to subscribe to Echolocation and stay tuned for more exciting episodes. Until next time, keep innovating and exploring new horizons. Bye.